So imagine gazing out into a glistening green mountain where a flag is waving in the wind and time is of least importance. Are you dreaming, perhaps? Not quite. It's actually you witnessing the game of golf for the first time. My own eagerness to learn about this game is what led me to do research on this popular growing sport throughout the years. And I have discovered throughout my research that there is a lot more to golf than I could have ever dreamed of. Today, I'd like to share with you some history about the game, some of the rules that apply to it, and then proper etiquette to be aware of. So golf doesn't mean what people think. A lot of people think that it stands for gentlemen only, ladies forbidden, but that's not the case at all. Golf, the term, actually derived from a word called club, which actually means to strike or drive forward with violence. The first mention of the word was from King James II when he wrote out a royal ban in the year 1457 that encouraged archery practice because the men at the time were neglecting their duties and their practice due to this game. There are many theories to where it came from, but there's not one final one, which makes it even more interesting. So because of this, golf does not have a short history by any means. It was traced back to Scotland in the reign of Caesar, and a similar game back then was played with feather-stuffed balls and club-shaped tree branches. In 1729, the first reference was used for the game of golf in the United States by William Burnet, which was a governor of Massachusetts. In 1744, it officially became a sport by the Gentlemen Golfers of Leith Club, formed where it was the first competition ever to actually give out prizes, which happened to be silverware. In 1764 was when the most well-known course came into play, and that's called the Old Course at St. Andrews, and it went from a 22-hole to an 18-hole, which we still use as the standard to this day. So golf has definitely become a growing sport over the years. The Industrial Revolution of the Victorian era was actually one of the times when it brought back many changes. People began to explore outside of their cities and towns, which is when courses and clubs began to arise and appear out of nowhere, and then mass production methods also began to form for golf clubs and golf ball manufacturing. 1916 was when PGA was formed. It stands for Professional Golfers Association, and that is the current governing body still that we know as today in golf. Parkland courses are the typical courses that we play on, especially in the United States, and they are what reflect the history of the game. But let's see why the rules are important. So there are a ton of rules. There are 24 to be exact, according to now, or will be soon, but there are a few that everybody should know before they go on the course. It is the only sport where the scores are kept by competitors, and the competitors swap cards at the beginning of the game, and then they sign them at the end before returning them. The term par is known for the number of strokes expected to play, and the length and difficulty ranges between course. It just depends on each hole, but 70 to 72 average for the whole game is actually what is expected for a pro. So that's pretty low in most cases. There are a few sports besides golf that actually have the standard where the lower the score, the better. Stroke play in this game particularly is one of the most common because it's the simplest and you play hole by hole. One really important thing that everybody should abide by is to always set up their tee time in advance. You always want to be aware of people's time and be respectful. Common rules for tee time is to play within the parameters of the tee, avoid playing wrong ball, and there's only allowed to be 14 clubs total in your caddy, and your caddy is typically what you would carry around with your golf clubs in it. There are 3 types of water hazards that you want to be aware of before you even attempt to go on a course and attempt to play a hole. They're called water, lateral, and casual. And the difference is between some of the water has yellow stakes, the lateral will have red stakes, and then the casual will just be an accumulation of water on the course that's unexpected due to natural events such as storms. The rules, as I mentioned, they're updated yearly, and now there's going to be 24 as of 2019, coming from 34. A few of these are you can now putt with the flagstick pull in. You have 3 minutes only instead of 5 to look for a ball that gets lost, and you cannot take over 40 seconds to perform a stroke. But once you partake in this sport activity, before you have to make sure that the manners match the style. Golf etiquette is all about respect for the course, the players, and the game. The dress code is enforced to make sure that the amateurs don't disrespect the rules and maintain the game's traditions. Men versus women. There are a few variances between what they can wear and what they can't wear. The men typically would wear a collared shirt with pants or some comfortable specific shorts, and socks are required, and then the shoes usually have hard or soft grips on them to help you from sliding on the course. And then you can wear either a baseball cap or a visor. Ladies are pretty much the same, except they have a little bit more leeway. The ladies are able to wear no sleeves, but they have to have like a polo shirt, kind of like this, but it would be like sleeves would cover the shoulders. They need to wear either capris, shorts. They also can have skirts, but it's all about modesty as far as a golf course goes, and they're required to wear socks as well, and the same kind of shoes, and a baseball cap or visor is permitted for them too. It is also mainly really important to know, once you have your dress attire ready, where to stand on the green. The green is the part of the course where it's the most fragile and delicate, and that's where you typically putt into the hole. You want to be able to stand out of view to make sure that you don't cast shadows for other players playing the game and trying to score. You never want to run, and you also want to leave your bags and carts outside of the green so you don't damage them. Because of this, maintaining the course in general, not just the green, is a huge part of the game. The ball, whenever it strikes and it lands, it makes an indentation, so you have a special tool that you can carry around on the course with you to repair that with a certain golf tool. You're allowed to bring more than one club on the field at the same time on the course, but you have to make sure that you don't drop them, because that's a big no-no. And if one person holes out, which means that they're completely done playing with that hole, and if they're the last person to play, then they're the ones expected to put the flag stick back in. And you always want to make sure that you maintain a steady pace, because golfers get very anxious and they do not want to wait all day for you to finish one hole. So a couple ways to do this would be to plan your shot before you go onto the course, or before it's your turn. You plan how you want to stand, and how far the distance is, maybe even determine the wind resistance. Only take one practice swing. You can practice drives, but try to stick to only one practice swing. Don't be too strict about the order of how people play. It doesn't really matter as long as you guys keep moving and remain close to the green at all times. So in closing, golf has definitely taken off over the years with its spontaneity and strategy-driven tactics. From the history in Scotland to its current popularity around the globe, it's proven that it's not just about rules and etiquette, but it's also about building relationships and having fun. It remains difficult to learn every rule and guideline that there is, because the game is meant to challenge you and to increase performance with pressure-driven strategies, unlike other sports. As BBC states in their article about scoring, what counts is the number of shots. Basically, in other words, if you don't know anything else, remember to keep the score low and everything else will come in time. While it remains to be determined if golf will triumph over other sports such as football or baseball, it's clear that they will continue to be played by people of all ages around the world.